Many students view academic writing as a checklist of arbitrary grammar rules and margin sizes enforced by professors, but that perspective ignores the actual engineering at work within the text. To understand the system, we must replace the concept of writing with the concept of accountability. This slide shows the dictionary definition of ethics. It is a set of moral principles that govern a person's behavior. In a research environment, those principles are expressed through the way data is handled and reported. While the definition of ethics is broad and philosophical, the execution within an academic report is highly specific and mechanical. These required characteristics, a formal tone, a third-person perspective, and precise word choice, function as standardized constraints. The third-person perspective and formal tone are mandatory because they strip away the author's personal bias. The necessity of these strict rules becomes clear when looking at the historical origins of research ethics following the Second World War. This slide references the 1947 Nuremberg Code. It was formulated as a direct response to the atrocities committed by Nazi doctors who conducted murderous experiments on concentration camp prisoners. Nuremberg established research must be grounded in absolute truth, voluntary consent, and doing no harm. In 1964, the World Medical Association expanded these protections into the Declaration of Helsinki. This document established the international standards for the ethical treatment of human data. While undergraduate students are rarely running high-stakes medical trials, they are trained on the same data pipeline. A failure to report data accurately in a classroom follows the same logic as a failure in a clinical trial. The formatting rules found in a syllabus are the practical tools used to achieve the transparency demanded by these international treaties. By standardizing the reporting process, these rules ensure that research remains verifiable, connecting a student's work to the broader ethical standards of the scientific community. If these ethical codes are globally recognized, we must investigate why academic misconduct remains a persistent threat within the university system. This behavioral model suggests that ethical failure is not an unpredictable lapse in character, but a systemic failure involving three specific pillars. The left side of the model details individual attributes. These are the internal pressures and traits the student brings to the task. Personality variables, such as type A behavior and competitive striving, naturally push individuals to test the boundaries of a system. Combined with low self-esteem or desire for better grades, these internal drivers justify cheating. However, internal pressure requires an external environment to manifest. The right side of the model shows the situational and institutional factors. The opportunity to cheat is a critical variable. An unsecured or poorly monitored reporting environment actively invites ethical breaches. Institutions also fail when there is a lack of intervention. Systems not mandating rigorous formatting and verification inadvertently provide the space for misconduct to occur. Actual misconduct occurs when internal psychological pressure meets an external institutional loophole. Even with pressure and opportunity present, there is a specific tipping point where a thought becomes a physical act of cheating. At the bottom of the model, we find the mediating factors. Desperation acts as the primary catalyst. This is the acute stressor that short-circuits a student's moral judgment. Imagine a competitive student who has run out of time on a critical report. That desperation, combined with the knowledge that their data sources will not be checked, leads to the decision to fabricate results. Because academic desperation is an inevitable byproduct of high-stress environments, a system based purely on the honor system is structurally flawed. Since we cannot eliminate human desperation, the only viable defense is to remove the opportunity to cheat through rigid structural requirements. This brings us to the practical solution used by universities, the required structure of the academic report itself. This hourglass model is an engineered framework. It is designed to close the loopholes that allow for data manipulation. The wide top section represents the introduction. Forcing a student to state a clear hypothesis early locks them into a specific research path, making it difficult to alter their premise to fit flawed data later. The narrow neck represents the methods and results. This construction demands absolute transparency, requiring the presentation of raw, isolated data without any personal interpretation. Interpretation is finally permitted in the wide base of the discussion, but only because it must be strictly anchored to the results directly above it. Unlike a creative essay, where weak data can be hidden in flowery prose, the hourglass structure isolates the facts. Formatting serves as a quarantine zone. It physically separates the facts of the research from the human bias that might attempt to alter them. This framework only functions if the student, the individual operator of the system, executes their specific responsibilities. Slide 9 details the 3 pillars of student responsibility required in every academic submission. The first pillar is responsibility to the content. This requires providing accurate information and actively avoiding the manipulation or misinterpretation of any reported facts. Next, the second core pillar is responsibility to the readers. Visual clarity is a moral requirement. Students must provide readable formats, clear abstracts, and accurately titled graphics to ensure the reader is not misled. And the final core pillar is responsibility to the evaluator. This involves following exact submission instructions, using correct professional titles such as doctor or professor, and submitting the paper on time. These micro-level formatting tasks are the physical mechanisms by which a student upholds the global history of research ethics. By mastering this format, you are protecting the integrity of the truth.